Ephesians, Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians and Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus and Philemon, Hebrews, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st and 2nd 3rd John, Jude and Revelation, creation,
Genesis 1,
heaven,
Revelation 21,
birth of Jesus,
Luke 10,
birth of the church,
Acts 10,
birth of Moses,
Exodus 7,
Ten Commandments,
Exodus 20,
Cain and Abel.
Genesis 4,
There you go. Cain and Abel.
Genesis 4,
David fights Goliath.
1 Samuel 17,
And
1 Samuel 1,
love,
1 Corinthians 13,
faith.
Hebrews 11,
Let's go ahead and see if we can do some of the judges.
remember the first one.
Okay.
Yes, I did. I wrote down the first one. I think the first one.
Okay, well they'll come back to you.
Oh, I know this.
Okay. Let's try at least the first five. Othniel, Eve, Shamgar, Gideon, Abimelech, Tob, Jared, Jephthah. Okay, well let's do the first five. Othniel, Ehud, Shamgar, Deborah, Gideon. You all say it together? Othniel, Ehud, Shamgar, Deborah, Gideon. Okay, give that to Mom now. Othniel, Ehud, Shamgar, Deborah, Gideon, and let's try a couple more. Let's try at least 3 more. Abimelech, Tob, Tola, Jared, and Jephthah. Well, a couple plus a couple. Okay, it's a couple squares. Okay. Othniel, Ehud, Shamgar, Deborah, Gideon, Abimelech, Tob, Jared, Jephthah. Okay, that's 9. So when we get 9, we can get the rest of it. Yeah. Gibson. Yeah. Othniel, Ehud, Shamgar, Deborah, Gideon, Abimelech, Tob, Jared, Jephthah. Okay. Tola, Jared, Jephthah. Abimelech. Okay. And how many sons did Jacob have?
12.
Is that right? How many daughters do we have recorded? What's her name? Dinah. Oh, very good. Oh. Okay, we're going to sing the sons of. Okay, who are they? What is that? Okay, good deal. And we can conclude it a little bit on our whisper class. I want to make sure we went long enough that the song was done. Okay. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and these are sons of Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and these are sons of Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and these are sons of Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, these are sons of Jacob. I've been trying that. Good. Okay. Let's get into, y'all ready? Put your arms out. Oh, man. Oh, it's all part of the process. Get started. Okay. Good job. Okay. The young men will come up and do Jesus' lesson. Oh, yes, smile away, that's right. Good job, yes, smile away. hi to them. Over that camera. They're not here.
They're not here.
They're not here. Huh?
Nene's
Yeah, oh, so that's all important. Okay. Well, yeah, okay. Okay, say hi to your cousin. Yeah. So Chris don't count.
No.
Okay. As long as you're here, it's all
He's here,
important.
that's all
Okay,
right.
that's good. Okay, you know where your bread's buttered on. Okay. Jesus loves me. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong, they are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. Good deal. Andy and Matt.
Good evening. Thanks for being here tonight. A few announcements as we begin. Of course, Prayer Group 1 has been canceled for tonight because Larry is out of town. And as far as other announcements, if you weren't here this morning, Mike Adams was baptized into Christ this morning, so we're so happy for him, Evelyn, and his decision to do that. Our prayer list, we discussed a few that we want to add to the prayer list. Jack Borsman will be adding him to the prayer list. And also requested prayers for Jackie Parker. She has a scan to be done on Thursday the 14th. Just check to see if she's clear of any further cancer. And so we pray that that test will come back negative for that. And then we'd ask you to remember Chris as well. He's been under the weather, and as well as all of our college students as they prepare for final exams over this week to help them to have all the strength that they can muster to finish up strong for that. Probably you've gotten a letter regarding the Ghana mission work. If you've been a supporter of that, we just wanted to make mention that the change that's going to take place, the Church Street Church of Christ in Lewisburg, Tennessee, is no longer going to be the main congregation for that work. That is now going to be taken over at the 5th and Greenwich Church of Christ in Russellville. And so there is a letter that has some information as far as address for those that's been supporting that. That new address will be the 5th and Greenwich Church there in Russellville. We may post this out in the foyer if you need to have that address. And those contributions made towards that work, this all begins January 1st. And so final check to Church Street should be December 15th in order to make that transition.
Rick?
Yes.
Danny Joyner has come to Lady Bible class for years. Moved away to Tulsa, I think, but she passed away. Our service will be, the visitation will be Thursday evening.
I think it's 5 to 7. I'm not sure that time.
And the funeral will be Friday at 2 o'clock at Roberts.
Yeah.
We got both of them.
So Betty Garner has passed away. Visitation on Thursday, and that will be in Tulsa.
No, here, at Roberts.
At Roberts, and then the
Yes.
funeral will be Friday,
2 o'clock at Roberts.
2 o'clock at Roberts. Okay. The Widows and Widowers Luncheon, that date has been determined. Steve let us know this morning that this will be on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. So that will be 12:31. That'll be on a Sunday, just immediately following morning service at Reed's Restaurant. So Widowers Luncheon on New Year's Eve, 12:31 at the Reed's Restaurant following morning service. All right, anything else that we need to mention this evening? All right. Kenneth is going to be our song leader tonight, yes. And of course, Jim will have a message for us. I will begin offering prayer. Larry is not here. He's supposed to have a closing prayer, so I need someone to do the closing prayer for us tonight. Closing prayer. There we go. Just need one person. Yes, I've got one. All right, thank you. Let's go to God in prayer. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this day that you blessed us with. We thank you for the blessings that we enjoy. And as we begin a new week, we pray that all things will be well with those that we have had on our prayer list, whether it be continuing treatments for disease or trying to overcome illnesses. Would ask you to bless all, and may all things turn out well for them. We ask you to be with our young people, especially those that college who will be going through final exams this week. Give them strength, give them recollection of those things that they have prepared for in study. We ask you to be with Chris, help him to be strong and overcome the illness that he's suffering. Jackie, as she has a test on Thursday, and we pray, Father, that there will be no more cancer found, so that she can continue her recovery without that worry on her mind and those of her family. We pray, Father, that you would be with the family of Betty Garner at her passing. Would ask you to bless Jack as he struggles, but he still has that desire and that courage to be here each time that he can. We pray for Richard and Peggy as well as they watch over him, bless him, and taking care of him. We ask you, Father, to be with others that are on the prayer list as they continue to try to recover. We pray, Father, that our efforts here will be fruitful, especially through the coming year. We thank you, Father, for Mike's decision this morning to obey the gospel. Please continue to strengthen him. May he study your word and his faith may increase, and may we strengthen and encourage him as well as his new brothers and sisters in Christ. Continue with us now through this service. We have Jim as he brings us this message, and be with Kenneth as he leads us in the songs that we offer up to you. For all these things we do ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Let's sing number 577 and 578. 577, 578. We bow down and we will glorify. You are Lord of creation and Lord of my life, Lord of the land and the sea. You are Lord of the heavens before there was time, and Lord of all, Lord, you will be. We bow down and we worship you, Lord, we bow down, and we worship you, Lord, we bow down. We worship you, Lord. books to number 934. 934, softly and tenderly with the song after the lesson this evening. 934. And then turn to number 452. 452, Standing on the Promises. Standing on the promises of Christ my King, through eternal ages let his praises ring. Glory in the highest I will shout and sing, standing on the promises of God. Standing, standing, standing on the promises of God my Savior. Standing, standing, I'm standing on the promises of God, standing on the promises that cannot fail. When the howling storms of doubt and fear assail, by the living word of God I shall prevail, standing on the promises of God. Standing, standing, standing on the promises of God, my Savior. Standing, standing, I'm standing on the promises of God. Standing on the promises I cannot fall, listening every moment to the Spirit's call, resting in my Savior as my all in all, standing on the promises of God. Standing, standing, standing on the promises of God, my Savior. Standing, standing, I'm standing on the promises of God.
Good evening. Good to see everyone here. It has been a truly exciting day and a wonderful day. I know this morning I overheard Evelyn tell someone that she wasn't sure that Mike would ever do that, and she had no clue that he was going to do that this morning. When he stood up, she thought he was just maybe going to the bathroom, and of course he waited until, he really didn't start walking till the sound ended. And it kind of took me a little bit by surprise. At first I thought maybe he was coming up asking for prayers, and I would recommend we all keep them in your prayers as they have some decisions or some things to consider, but basically, the news on his situation, health, is not good. But he made a great decision today. So it was exciting, and it was always exciting. And it's never too late as long as we have breath in our life. God wants us to come to Him, and so whatever the case, Mike is in good hands. Always exciting, encouraging to see things like that. Seems like we have some excitement towards the end of the year, and it's always good to see as we go into the next year. One thing I was thinking about as was made mention about our college kids taking their exams, and of course Chris being under the weather. Hopefully that won't impair him too much on his testing. But especially when James goes to college, we have a number of kids that are college age, and there's a certain thing about that, and you never know what may come of them, but whatever they do go on to do, we know we have a hand in that, and hopefully they will always put God first in whatever they do. Our lesson tonight, we're doing a little mini-series on every growing congregation needs. And last week we talked about discipleship. every growing church needs discipleship last week. This week we're going to deal with leadership. Now, you know, I know it's kind of an odd thing sometimes to talk about. It seems like the only time we talk about leadership are either when we're in the process of trying to look at appointing elders, or when we just appointed elders, or maybe when a church that doesn't have elders. And typically it seems like we rarely speak about leadership any other time. And perhaps it may be there's a correlation there. Maybe some congregations struggle with having continued leadership because they don't teach and study on leadership enough in between, so that they are always preparing those who may come up with growth. And so I think a part of growth is always having that basis of where we're trying to train and teach people to be leaders. And we're going to look at different aspects. We're not just talking about an eldership. Although an eldership must be included in any discussion of leadership, we need to understand there are different forms of leaders in our congregation. Our base of our text that we are using is Ephesians 4:15 through 16, says, "But speaking the truth in love, may grow up in all things into him who is the head, Christ, from whom the whole body joined and knit together by what every joint supplies, according to the effective working by which every part does its share, causes growth of the body for the edifying of itself in love." And so how do we build up? How do we grow? And so there are various things that we need to consider, but tonight I want us to look at leadership. That you never will have true growth and sustained growth without leadership. I've been to congregations that will have little spurts of growth, but yet they didn't have leaders, didn't have elders maybe. And what happened at some point in time, it just, a conflict arose. And generally something minor, but there was no eldership to put a firm hand on things and to take care of the matters, and things kind of fall apart. And you look at congregations that have a history of long-term without elders, and that's typically their cycle. They'll grow a little bit, shrink, grow, shrink, grow, shrink. And then sometimes they may shrink to the point that they will come back. What do we need to grow? The growing church last week, we looked at things like discipleship. Colossians 3:9-10, "Do not lie to one another, since you have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man, who is renewed in the knowledge according to the image of him who created him." And so we talked about last week, a growing church is one whose members are becoming more and more like Jesus. And the thing we see about Jesus is Jesus was a leader in all facets. And the thing is, we need to have more people who desire to be leaders in the church. Especially our men. Our men need to grow up to be understanding that that's expected of them, that they need to do these things. Some of our college-age kids that go off, who knows where they may go. And although the church is not as numerous here as it is in some parts, but I want to tell you, there are parts of this country where it is far less numerous than it is here. And the churches are far less strong. And so our young men, if they go off to areas where the church is not there, not as strong, they need to be prepared and able to take the measures to be the leaders in whatever community they're in. A growing church becomes more and more like Jesus. Well, I want us to look at this. My son, he took his last, and I'm kind of glad to be honest, but anyway, he took his last ACT. Now, unless he just, size of ego, if he doesn't get the score he wants, maybe he may take it again just for personal satisfaction. But I doubt he'll do that. He's high enough where he doesn't have to worry about that. But he's wanting a perfect score. But, he's been taking a lot of tests. And and the way you get even better on them is you've got to take some practice tests. So he's been taking a lot of practice tests. And I'm sure the best thing that he's thinking is he won't have me harping on him ever again saying, "You need to go take another practice test." But just on my sake, he told me to do that. So anyway, okay, but we got a multiple choice question here, okay? You see it? Okay, it says, leadership is the quality exhibited in a person who conducts himself in such a manner that others blank follow his example. And A, can, B, should, or C, will. Okay, well, let's look at this. Let's see what we got here. Well, leadership quality exhibited in a person where people can follow his leadership. I think we definitely can say that true, because in order for, if we're talking about an eldership, they must have biblical qualifications. It would be very difficult, in fact, it'd be impossible to follow someone as an elder if they were not truly qualified. And we know these qualifications from 1 Timothy 3, 1 through 7, Titus 1, 5 through 9. And we can go to the absurd, for example, if a man had never been married, obviously he would not be qualified to be an elder. If he'd never had any children at all, he'd not be qualified. And so there are things we can say on the absolutes. And so here we see that in order to, follow someone as a leader, we can. They must have the quality. But, we need to understand that we should. And so that we should follow his example. Hebrews 13:17 says, obey those who rule over you, and be submissive, for they watch out for your souls as those who must give account. Let them do so with joy and not with greed, that would be unprofitable for you. So truly, we can follow their lead, but we should follow their leadership. In other words, elders who are qualified, we should follow them. Obey, peitho there, it means an obedience of persuasion. They're able to lead us in a way. And so, it's not only can and should, but Jackie, all right, it's also will. And so all these go together. Not only can we follow them because they are qualified, should we follow them because Scripture is clear on this, but we will follow them because of the example they set. 1 Peter 5, 2 through 3 says, shepherd the flock of God which is among you, serving as overseers, not by compulsion, but willingly, not for dishonest gain, but eagerly, not as being lords over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. I'm glad to say in our congregation we have elders that I think exemplify this. I've been at some where that could not be said of all the elders, but I do believe here that we have elders that I want to tell you, before they would ever ask someone to do something, they would be willing to do it themselves. And oftentimes they do so much behind the scenes that a lot of people don't even realize what they do. And I want to say this, we have other men in our congregation that a lot of times do things, they're not doing it for glory, they're not doing it for recognition, they just do it. And those are the type of people that we are willingly will follow because we know that they're in it with us. They're not there to tell us what to do, they want to serve right along with us. Tell what you know, leadership involves the courage of heart and spiritual fortitude that says, I am going to do right even if no one else does. That is the mark of a true leader. In fact, leaders are not leaders. It seems like we have a false impression now with politicians as being leaders. And for far too long, politicians, what they'll do is, how politicians typically lead, at least most of them, they'll take a poll. And they'll ask their constituents, what do you think? And then they'll look at the poll and say, oh, okay, well, this is what I think now. And for some issues, maybe that's okay, but the point is, a leader is one that does the right thing. Even if the majority of people says, well, let's do this, we shall do that. One of the saddest stories, I think, in all of history, in the history of the churches of Christ in the United States, deals with the family that started the churches in Texas. And I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but basically the family is the family that started, maybe you've heard of TCU, Texas Christian University. They started that university way back when. It used to be a part of the brotherhood, you might say, that supported that university. But one day, in one of the churches there in Texas, the two sons of the patriarch of the family decided that they wanted to bring the piano into worship. And even though it eventually ostracized the family between the patriarch and the sons and the others, the father decided he had to do what was right. He would have no place. Joshua 1:8, this book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate in it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For when you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. I'll tell you, every congregation needs at least two kinds of leadership. And the first one is leadership by example. And in this, I want to tell you, it doesn't always have to be an eldership that we see doing this. Now, I hope that our eldership is one we see leading by example. But, there are many Bible class teachers that do a lot of things that we can learn from their example. There are many members that do a lot of works that we can learn from their example. There are many parents that we see that we can learn from their example, and maybe a parent that has had kids and has now gotten older kids, maybe parents with younger kids, they learn from that example. But every growing congregation needs at least two kinds of leadership. In 1 Corinthians 11:1, this is Paul saying, he says, imitate me just as I also imitate Christ. I want to tell you, you want to really see where you stand in the faith, how mature you are. Can you say this to other people? Maybe you've been a member for a while, and can you tell them, just imitate me as I imitate Christ? Not as being a thing of ego or a thing of pride, a thing of, listen, I've been there, I've done that, I want to tell you, I know what Christ would do. Let's do it together. 1 Timothy 4:12 says, let no one despise your youth, but be an example to the believers in word and conduct in love, in spirit, in faith, in purity. Young people, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can still be a leader by example. Those that always do the right thing. I want to tell you, it will stand out and it will wind up benefiting you in your future. And I want to tell you, we need to understand that some of our young, they do great things. And we have some young men and women here that I'm proud that they are part of our congregation. Philippians 3:17, brethren, join in following my example. And note those who so walk as you have us for a pattern. I want to tell you, if you struggle from time to time, if you know those that struggle, I want to tell you, get them in groups that we have many people here that I tell you are faithful Christians that do many wonderful things. And the best thing that we can do is we can encourage someone to come in with us and be along with us, maybe invite them to lunch sometime, invite them to dinner, go with them somewhere, help them out on something they need help. And so they can learn from you. And there are others in this congregation they can learn from. Well, now we have some fill in the blank. Leading by example. Doing what is blank, even when it's hard or impossible. Doing what is right. Galatians 2:11-13. The context of that is Peter. Peter, I guess, for the second time we see in Scripture, is kind of, he's kind of influenced by peer pressure, we might say. Remember, he wouldn't eat with the Gentiles. We need to do what's right, even when somebody. Taking blank, not having to wait on someone else. Taking initiative. Taking initiative. And the context there, 1 Samuel 17, we just said in our Bible booster. Anybody remember what 1 Samuel 17 is? We're doing the opposite. David fights Goliath. All of Israel was cowering for this. They had this 9-foot, 9-inch morale problem, and yet little old David, the shepherd boy, he took initiative. Remaining focused, refusing meaningless or unfruitful distractions. Nehemiah. Oh, there are those that wanted to thwart them building the wall, and yet Nehemiah stayed focused. Bearing up under adverse circumstances. 1 Thessalonians 1:6-7 and James 5:10. Serving the needs of others. Luke 22:26. And reaching out to the outcast. You know the context of Acts 9:26-28? One named Saul, who had been the chief persecutor of the Lord's church, had just been converted. And you could imagine no one really wanted to touch him. And he comes back to the area, and guess who decides he'll befriend him? Barnabas. Reaching out to the outcast. Take initiative. We see that to lead by example, we got to take initiative. Sometimes something needs to be done. Maybe there's a work that needs to be done. Maybe there's a need that's not being met. Some of us need to take initiative. The way you become a leader at some point in time is by taking initiative when something desperately needs to be done. You don't wait for someone always to tell you to do something. You don't wait until someone says, hey, I need some help. If you see there's a need, just do it. We do have some men that have done that. We have some ladies as well. 1 Samuel 17:29, the New King James says, and David said, what have I done? And then he says, is there not a cause? Is there not a cause? We have this giant bad mouthing us. Name us look bad. we serve the Lord Jehovah. We must remain focused. Nehemiah 6:3. So I sent messengers to them saying, I am doing a great work so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and go down? You know, I think one of the biggest concepts in leadership is there are a lot of things that are more important. And as we see the example given by the apostles in Acts and the early church in Jerusalem, you know, the ministry of the word was the number one priority. Not that other things weren't important, but there was a priority. And a lot of times we're so easily distracted because this comes up or that comes up. And we need to learn the lesson that Moses had to be taught. There are a lot of times other people that can be delegated to take care of the minor things so we can consecrate. As we said, every congregation needs at least two kinds of leadership. Obviously, the leadership by example, which doesn't necessarily have to be an elder that leads by example. Now, I want to say this. Someone who ultimately wants to be an elder, they should have already been seen as someone who leads by example. Because when they become an elder, they need to have already built that relationship with the congregation. But secondly, we see we must have leadership by elders. It was an important thing in the early church. In Acts 14:23, so when they had appointed elders in every church, and prayed with fasting, they commended them to the Lord and whom they had to live. It was important in the New Testament church. In fact, in the New Testament church, the structure of the congregation was such that it must have elders. Oftentimes, there are many of us who pride ourselves in saying we aspire to be the church of the New Testament. How can we say we're the church of the New Testament if we don't honor the organization that the apostles set up through the inspiration of God? Set in order. You know, Paul and Titus. Paul had relationships with Timothy and Titus, and both of them, it was a mentoring type thing where they were almost considered like sons to him. And Titus, he says, for this reason I left you in Crete, that you should set in order the things that are lacking, and appoint elders in every city as I command you. Paul says there's things that are lacking in these places. Well, what was it? Well, they didn't have elders apparently. And so he let Titus be there so he could set in order. That word's an interesting word there. It's set in order. Epidiothoro. Oh, no. Butchered that, I know. But anyway, it's a I don't know, compound word, but it's got three parts. So that'd be what would that be, James? Anyway, it's got three parts in it. We'll just go with that. The first part, epi, means upon, and then dia means through, and then ortho, to set straight. You notice there's a picture there of a broken bone. What would you think of your doctor if you went in and you know, maybe you was taking an ambulance and you broke your leg, and you had a bone sticking out feeding through the skin, and you go into the doctor, and the doctor looks at it and says, oh, you know, that looks pretty bad. Here, I'll just put some tape on it, it'll be okay. How well would you think of that doctor? No, they have to set it straight, don't they? And if it's a bad enough thing, they may have to put some pins or, you know, different things, do surgery even. But, you know, at the least you want them to set it straight, and they'll check x-rays later and make sure it is growing back straight. It's not right when a congregation doesn't have elders. I want to come in, I want to tell you, you know, there's going to be more words coming, I'm sure, and appreciate so much being able to serve and work here under this eldership, and especially while Richard Borsman has been here. And I want to tell you, his heart was such, I know when I first came here, his desire was that there would be leadership in place whenever we know to be. Because he understands this. You see, this is important to the church, that things are set in order. And it's important that we have elders. And I'm grateful that we do. God's will is clear. For every congregation is to have a plurality of qualified elders. Philippians 1:1. And there really, maybe you could go into more, but there are four types of congregations. There are those who are scripturally organized. That will be like us. We have elders, we have deacons, we have members. Christ is our head. We also have congregations that are scripturally unorganized. In other words, they aspire to do everything right, but they don't have eldership at this time. Now, I would dare say this was always intended to be a temporary thing. You know, I've been to some places that in their whole 50, 60-year history, they have never had elders. I've seen some congregations that had elders once and things went bad, and so they haven't had elders in 30, 40 years. And somewhere they decided it really wasn't that important to simply do what God says. There are also those that are unscripturally organized. There are many meeting today that would call themselves Christians that are set up totally different. They might have deacons as their main thing. They might have an organization where there is a man-made, headquarters or something of that nature. They are unscripturally organized. And then, this is kind of a new one, but this has kind of become a popular one. And I guess in our day and age society, this kind of hits home with some, and it is unscripturally unorganized. That's the whole, people say they're undenominational, and they're basically unscripturally unorganized. They're not doing a lot of things right, but, it appeals to some because they're not tied to anything. We must be scripturally organized the way God wants. Why should a man desire the work of men? And somewhere, I think maybe this became a bad thing. And I could do a similar lesson on why should a man desire to be a preacher and a man. It's not that popular thing. I get a kick out of, you look on these sites and you'll see them on Facebook a lot of times, these things that say, degrees that pay the least. Have you ever looked through those degrees that pay the least? It might surprise you what some of them are, but anyway, the bottom two are things that myself and many preachers that I have friends with either are or maybe want to be. And that is, preachers are typically at the very bottom. Typically, preachers are typically the most educated, least paid profession. Now, I want to tell you, that doesn't bother me at all because I didn't go to preaching for any kind of money. The next thing is licensed counselors, therapists. And they typically have master's degrees, have to in order to be licensed counselors, and yet they are very low paid. And they do a valuable service, I know. And so maybe in our age, when everything's about money, we have lost our perspective of what's important. And maybe a lot of people say, I don't want to be an elder because there's too much work and there's not any pay to do it. But there should be a desire to be an elder. We need to teach our young men, our young ladies to aspire men to become elders. 1 Timothy 3:1, the saying is trustworthy. If anyone aspires to the office of an overseer, he desires a noble task. We should desire for the Lord's sake. John 21:15, so when they had eaten breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me more than these? He said to him, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. He said to him, feed my lambs. Men should desire to be elders for the Lord's sake. We see also for his own sake, for your own sake. Colossians 3:1-4, if then you were raised with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ is sitting at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above, not on things of the earth, for you died and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is our life, appears, then you will also appear with him in glory. And for his posterity's sake. Galatians 2:5, to whom we did not yield submission even for an hour, that the truth of the gospel might continue with you. Romans 1:16-17, for I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God to salvation, for everyone who believes, for the Jew first and also for the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. There indeed are pitfalls for congregations. We don't ever need to install a man just because he's successful in business or prominent in the community. Far too many times that's been done in the past, and that never works well. We don't need to ever compel unqualified men. I've heard some people say at times, well, they'll grow into it, and that never happens. Don't look or wait for perfection. Qualified elders aren't perfect, just faithful, mature, and simple. If I were to say the greatest reason why a lot of times congregations do not appoint elders, it's because they're like, well, they're not really quite ready. And by that standard, no one is. For no man is perfect. For congregations to grow, we need leadership. And that means not only our elders, but needs our members. We must learn from the elders. We must be willing to submit to them as we submit to Christ. We must be willing to see the example of those who are more faithful than us, more mature than us. And we must aspire to be that mentor, be that leader for others who are maybe not quite as faithful as we are. As we become more like Christ, we can grow. We follow the leadership principles that the Bible says. What an exciting day as Mike was baptized in Christ. You've not yet done that. Sin is still on your account. Romans 3:23 says, for all have sinned. No, we all have done that. Romans 6:23 says, for the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord. You deserve that. We all did at one time. The difference being that many of us have been washed. Paul was told, why are you waiting? Arise and be baptized and wash away your sins, call the name of Christ. If you're not a Christian tonight, why not become one? Are we here tonight? Maybe you've not been putting Christ first. You've not been striving to be just like Christ as you should. If you have any need at all, come down and give us sins.
Softly and tenderly, Jesus is calling, calling for you and for me. See on the portals He's waiting and watching, watching for you and for me. Come home, come home. Ye who are weary, come home. Earnestly, tenderly, Jesus is calling, calling, oh sinner, come home. Oh, for the wonderful love He has promised, promised for you and for me. Though we have sinned, He has mercy and pardon, pardon for you and for me. Come home, come home. Ye who are weary, come home. Earnestly, tenderly, Jesus is calling, calling, oh sinner, come home.
Is anyone here who needs to make the Lord's Supper? If not, we can turn to number 854. We'll sing the first verse of number 854.
Oh, how sweet will be to me the Lord when He comes in glory by and by. What a song of praise will be outpoured when He comes in glory by and by. How sweet, when He comes in the sky. What joy, what joy, when He comes in glory by and by.
Father in heaven, we love you. We thank you so much for this day that you've given us. Thank you for all of your many, many blessings. Father, as we enter into this is a season, a holiday that is celebrated by the entire world for many, many different reasons. Help us to remember to celebrate not only the birth of Christ, but his life that he lived on this earth, the example that he set for us, his death, burial, and resurrection. Father, help us to live as examples of Christ. Father, we're so thankful for the forgiveness that you have provided for us, and we ask your forgiveness. We realize that we are weak, and that we are totally dependent upon you for the things that we need and for our sins as well. Father, we pray for those who are unable to be here. We pray for those who are on our prayer list, and we are so truly thankful for Mike's decision to obey the gospel. We're thankful that you have added him to your church. Father, go with us as we leave this place tonight. And we ask these things in Jesus' name.